Today's video has been sponsored by Star Trek Fleet Command, where the most fearsome enemy of the Federation is back, the Borg. Use the link below or scan the QR code on screen to play this award-winning free-to-play open-world MMO available on iOS, Android and PC, and engage in all new missions inspired by the Borg's iconic appearances in Star Trek The Next Generation. You can join the fan-favourite Hugh to assist him in stopping a scientist's quest for revenge, save a Pack-Led from trying to be purposefully assimilated by the Collective, and prevent the Borg from taking the technology that underpins Maya, your AI assistant. That's not all though, as the other key feature added this month is Fleet Commanders, well-known heroes, or villains, that you can assign to oversee strategy for your starbase, increasing its potency. The first three potentials up for assignment here are Admiral James T. Kirk, Captain Spock, or Locutus of Borg, and they can all be managed from the Command Center, a new starbase location dedicated to Fleet Commanders. Fight the Borg today by downloading Star Trek Fleet Command for free on iOS, Android and PC by clicking the link below or scanning the QR code on screen. After official first contact with the Borg Collective occurred in the 24th century, the Federation had met and categorized a number of Borg ships, with the vast majority of them being the formidable cube or smaller spheres. But they also had encountered a number of more unique vessels that were only ever seen once, the first of which was met in 2369 by the USS Enterprise and given the designation Borg Type 03. This ship was very different as it had been built by a group of drones that had been disconnected from the Collective thanks to their contact with Hugh, a Borg drone that had previously been allowed to develop individuality during his time aboard the Enterprise. After being cut off from their kin, they were overwhelmed by their new individuality and fell into dysfunction until found by Law, a malevolent android built by Dr. Noonien Soong. He became their leader, their guiding voice in place of the Collective, and helped build their new ship. This meant that the Type 03 had a wildly different external design to any other Borg vessel encountered before or since, and it's unclear if it had been constructed from scratch by Law's Borg or salvaged by them from some unknown alien species. Its extremely asymmetrical form was made up of a blocky central hull with two spars stemming from each side. One spar held the transwarp drive, while the other was an auxiliary control center. The exterior of the ship lacked many of the typical features of Borg vessels, and instead had many elements that were cosmetic, or for the benefit of the crew, such as windows. It even bore iconography that tied it to Law's faction. Though, just like many other Borg ships, it was vast in scale, easily dwarfing a Galaxy class in both size and power. It was armed with standard beam and projectile weapons, and was just as durable as other Borg ships thanks to its gargantuan size. It was also fully equipped with a transwarp drive, and was one of the earliest confirmed encounters the Federation had with that technology. This allowed the strange vessel to open and enter transwarp conduits with a tachyon pulse, wherein it was accelerated to extremely high velocities, much higher than those of a warp drive. The renegade Borg were using this technology to perform hit-and-run strikes against remote colonies in outlying sectors when it was found by the Enterprise, who managed to follow it through a conduit after one of these attacks. They emerged damaged above an unknown world where Law's Borg had set up a surface base. Captain Jean-Luc Picard joined an away team to explore, leaving Dr. Beverly Crusher in command of the Enterprise. However, after a number of brief engagements, the Enterprise's warp drive was damaged, leaving it on impulse power only and highly vulnerable to the Borg ship. To survive, Crusher ordered the use of highly experimental metaphasic shielding to hide within the corona of the system's star. Before this technology failed, the Enterprise directed a particle beam into the Sun, causing a violent fusion eruption from its surface which engulfed the Borg vessel lurking nearby, utterly destroying it. Many years later, the USS Voyager was deep within the Delta Quadrant when it met a number of previously unknown Borg vessels, thanks to this being their home territory. It was in 2375 when the crew of Voyager attempted to steal technology from one known simply as a probe. As with all Borg ships, the oblong hull of the probe was a simple geometric shape, with its exterior covered in many layers of overlapping plates, girders and pipes, with dizzying levels of complexity. However, it was only roughly 200 meters in length, making it by far the smallest ship ever seen in use with the Collective. This was due to its use as a long-range scout and reconnaissance vessel, travelling beyond the borders of Borg territory to identify and catalogue new ships, technology and species that may be deserving of assimilation. Despite this, it was still a deadly vessel as it carried aboard the same equipment found on its larger siblings, giving it much the same capabilities. However, its smaller size did mean its defences and weaponry had less power and redundant systems to draw upon, putting a probe roughly on par with an Intrepid class, a Federation vessel much larger than itself. The interior followed the same decentralized, distributed design of all Borg vessels, with no specific command center and vital systems duplicated throughout. This allowed it to maintain operations after taking substantial damage, but the small size of the vessel meant that this only worked up to a point. One key system that was not duplicated was the heavily shielded transwarp chamber, located right in the very heart of the ship. It was here that the transwarp coils were housed, enabling extremely rapid travel across the Delta Quadrant and beyond. The relative vulnerability of a probe compared to larger Borg vessels was what led Captain Catherine Janeway and the USS Voyager to attack one. Their goal was to attempt to steal any technology that might help them on their long journey back to the Federation, with an intact and functional transwarp coil being the ideal piece of salvage. However, this attempt was largely unsuccessful, as the photon torpedo they had managed to transport over unexpectedly destroyed the entire ship. The probe's transwarp coils were unable to be secured as they were designed to fail beyond repair in the event of a Collective vessel being heavily damaged to prevent their capture. Some other technology was acquired though, including a pair of data nodes which contained information on the movement of other nearby Borg ships, one of which was a heavily damaged sphere. The Voyager crew made another attempt at stealing a transwarp coil from this sphere, but 7 of 9 opted to stay aboard it, and was taken to the Uni-complex to meet with the fearsome Borg Queen. Deep within this vast structure of interconnected elements lay a diamond-shaped ship, whose central chamber housed the physical form of the Queen. Unlike every other Borg ship, this core section was rotationally stabilized while the surrounding octahedral skeleton moved around it. This diamond-shaped ship was a fully capable vessel in its own right, with multiple weapon systems and full transwarp capability. Also, despite its fragile appearance, it was just as robust and hard to kill as other Borg ships thanks to heavy shielding and ablative hull armor. It also carried powerful and sophisticated sensor systems for assessing the offensive and defensive capabilities of other species in order to determine how much of a threat they may pose to assimilation efforts. Despite being a mobile command and control center for the Queen to direct the Collective from, the ship also housed many assimilation chambers within it to assist other Borg vessels in transforming newly encountered species into drones. To prevent any potential unwanted ingress or escape, the ship could also generate a dispersal field that blocks transportation. After the damaged sphere had returned 7 of 9 to the Collective, the Queen used her personal vessel to allow 7 to witness the assimilation of species 10026. This was part of an attempt to entice her back to the Collective while maintaining her individuality, with the eventual goal being the assimilation of Earth and the Federation at large. This proved fruitless, however, and 7 of 9 was rescued by a team from Voyager using the Delta Flyer, which had been equipped with the transwarp coil they had successfully retrieved previously. The Queen's ship gave chase, but was obliterated by the collapsing transwarp conduit exit after Voyager destabilized it with a spread of torpedoes. These unusual vessels were only ever encountered on one occasion each, with them all being subsequently destroyed by the Federation vessel that discovered them. I hope you enjoyed this triple breakdown of some miscellaneous Borg vessels. If you did, then please like the video and subscribe to the channel, or give us super thanks to support us further. You can also become a channel member here on YouTube, or join our Patreon, where you can now get the Spacedock reference book on designing the perfect fighter. Thank you for the support, and I'll see you next time.